right, y'all. I appreciate you guys tuning in. It's another week of Hue Talk Tales. I'm here with Walt D, aka The Wiz, Dejan, our book guru, and Dr. Benjamin Bay. As always, it's a pleasure to be here with you all. Um, Man, so it's been a crazy week. A lot has been going on. Prayers out there to the folks out there in Texas. They got hit hard and many other states as well. Um, Prayers to the people right here in Charlotte, North Carolina, who's having to vacate, Tent City, which has been their home a lot, for a lot of them for a while. We'll touch on a little bit of everything tonight. But again, it's a pleasure to have everyone that's watching. Everyone that's watching, all of our hosts can see the live comments and can be able to answer questions as we go along. So feel free to be interactive with any of our panelists that are here with us as we talk about some real good things. But to start things off, a real big movie came out last week. I think it's been the talk of my Facebook timeline, probably many of y'all's as well. Um, I actually didn't see it being talked about as much as I would have liked or hoped, but we can talk about it here. So the movie of Judas and the Black Messiah was released last week. There's been a mix of different reviews on the movie and what it was and what it meant, and so I'm just anxious to hear you all's perspective on the movie, and what your thoughts were, and any of you guys can go ahead and step in and give us your feedback.
All right. My thoughts on the movie is with the depiction of William O'Neill, Bill O'Neill, the informant who basically was paid to infiltrate the Black Panther Party, um, to help assassinate Fred Hampton to neutralize the Black Panther Party. I felt as though they tried to show the state's involvement into it. So that was the positive aspect of the movie. However, I felt as though they was trying to make him as if he was a victim of manipulation, as if he wasn't complicit with the infiltration of the Black Panther Party. Which, if you actually hear the real story, he was very complicit in setting up Fred Hampton to get killed. He had provided a floor plan for the FBI, and he was also working with Roy Mitchell of the FBI to help bring down Chairman Fred Hampton. Because Chairman Fred Hampton was a very charismatic leader of the Black Panther Party. And he was very enthusiastic, knew how to draw a crowd. He was going to bring in the young lords. He was going to bring the Black Peace Stones and the Black Panther Party. He was going to make all of them into a revolutionary force. See, a lot of people don't know that he had um, he had established the Rainbow Coalition way before Jesse Jackson. He was the first one going to bring all the people together, regardless of race, to have a Rainbow Coalition, a revolution, and a proletariat revolution. And they in the white power structure, the FBI, they knew that would bring problems within the United States government. So what they did is pay William O'Neill $300 to infiltrate the Black Panther Party and to get Fred Hampton assassinated because of his efforts trying to bring everybody together for a proletariat revolution. And you get this book called COINTELPRO Papers. It's by Ward Churchill. This outlines and summarizes the various tactics that the Black Panther Party, that the FBI used to neutralize the Black Panther Party and other Black Power movements. I advise everybody to get a copy of this book on Amazon. I'm not sure if the prices have increased, but this is a good book that was summarized and outlined the various tactics and maneuvers that the FBI used in the COINTELPRO program to neutralize a lot of leftist groups and the Black Panther Party. So that's my view of the Judas and the Black Messiah. I yield my time.
You can go ahead, Doc.
Brother muted.
Peace and love, everybody. Um,
Peace, peace.
First I rise in the spirit of seven. Dr. Moscow Benjamin Bay. I give all praise to Father God Allah. I give honors to our prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to his forerunner Marcus Garvey. I give honors to the divine constitution of Moorish America. I give honor to brothers on the panel and for the show, as well as all Moors here, there, and everywhere, even the Moors that don't even know they're Moors. You know what I'm saying? Islam. That that movie is a monster, man. It is very informational. But my thing about the movie, people see a good drama. Anytime you're talking about the death of the Black Messiah or any of our leaders, you're gonna get the views. It's almost like Black extortion at its best, at Black exploitation at its best, because the Europeans gonna make some money. Hollywood gonna do that. Even though it was written by some brothers, you always got them Jews that back them up. But other than that, man, what is a Messiah? We got to look that up. Messiah comes from the Mashiach, the Mashiach's messenger. He was a messenger. So if you were lost by what was going on, how he was done, you'll lose that message that he was talking about. Like Brother Dejan said, that this dude was bringing all types of people together the way that we should be, not just Black Panthers, Vice Lords, Bloods, Crips. Everybody was coming together, and they wasn't using their sex, their sections, their sets, their colors to divide them. We had one goal. He had one goal. Mind you, this brother was 22 years old. 22 years old with the spirit of Allah in him and the spirit of made him like that, man. 22 years old and a brother that educated, speaking that fluent, eloquently like that, rousing the people up. He had to go. He had to go. See, the Europeans know about that Black Messiah that's supposed to come here and wake the people up. That's what the Messiah, the messenger. What do you think Marcus Garvey's name was?
Mm-hmm.
Messiah.
They keep wiping all of the messiahs out.
But if they'll wipe Jesus out, why not? It's an honor to die for this cause. You know what I mean? Fred, it was a great scene in the movie where he say, "What happened to Malcolm and Martin?" He say, "Same thing gonna happen to me and you if you do the right thing." Brother, if that didn't give you chills, if that didn't give you chills, if that didn't flash you,
Yeah.
any other doctor said, come on, that looked up that happened to understand what your embrace it in my culture in Islam, because you out here to do a duty and a job, and he was there to wake up his people. That's scared. That's why Malcolm wasn't scared. That's why Jesus did his duty when he walked up on the mountain. He spoke to God about it twice, but he did what he was supposed to do because he was supposed to lead the people. So anytime you got a person that's going to come and wake our people up to tell them who they are and who they are not, and to give them power and unite in the masses, so you will no longer, if he unite a bunch of minorities and sections, we're gonna be the rise. So the Europeans know what the Messiah is supposed to bring, as well as Revelation say that's the end of the European control in Babylon. I yield my time. Peace and love.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that, brother. Um I don't know. That was a good movie. It was a very informative movie. I think a lot of people may have heard of him for the first time and got informed. But my main thing, as always, is how is it? What effects is it going to have on our people? Um, I think a whole list of emotions can be provoked from this movie. A lot of people that are open or what they're calling woke or maybe conscious of these things may have different emotions arise in someone who is on the fence, who is coming out of certain ideologies, trying to find themselves. Because what I'm seeing now is the polarization of of uh, death of messiahs. Um, like the doctor just alluded to, it has become for people like us that try to spread word and learn and also disseminate the information. It has become just something that you know that it's a possibility. But what do we do as the so-called black family um, to protect these people? That's one thing. And is this a tactic to deter people that are on the fence? You know, is this a tactic to show you the consequences and repercussions of not just gaining knowledge, not sitting back and watching this panel, but being a part of this panel? What are the repercussions for you bringing what you have learned to the people? And I think they are doing a very good job at polarizing those consequences. And so I do, while the movie is great, I think that there are some negative aspects as far as it, one, not being by us. I'm not saying uh, that the people that wrote it or presented weren't black, but it wasn't on our time. This was on their time. You know, this is somebody that a lot of leaders have come and talked about. We know him through history. We weren't taught him in school, but now it's a Hollywood movie. And we should take pride that this information is getting out there. But for those that are listening and those that may be thinking about joining the Moorish Americans or claiming your own identity or doing anything outside of this so-called matrix, these are your repercussions. This is what I feel like the message is getting pushed out. And so for us, we have to come to grips if we're presenting this information that some would call crazy because it's different, some would call conspiracy theories because it's different than what we've been brought up on. We have to be in that mindset. We can't be afraid, to leave this place for bringing a message because we see the movies, we know the history of brothers that come forth. But my greatest concern is how many of people out there are on the fence. Because for me, from a health standpoint, uh, I am in a battle with my family, my loved ones. I'm in a battle for influence. I'm in a battle for whose information are you going to listen to. So we go into the importance of culture, the importance of this nation, having our own nation, our own institutions. And these are the reasons why, is because not everyone has our best interests in mind. So this movie, while it is inspiring, it had me ready to get up here and talk and doing all this. I just always sit back and wonder, uh, in the midst of this conscious war that we're having, how many people are deterred? And I spoke to an older gentleman the other day, and he was like, "Well, those who cling on to it and decide to follow and learn more and be open to new information, those are the ones that are supposed to be saved." And I hear that all the time, but it's just like we're stuck in the same predicament 20, 30, 40, 50 years, 100 years after all of these messiahs pass. And they leave prematurely, not because of the doing of the enemy, it's the doing of us not coming together. It's always something, someone who gets in close on us, someone uh, that we entrust. that gets that, and that comes from not having a culture that gives you that sense of pride and that sense of sticking together for the common cause. And at the same note, they paid this brother $300. So what happened the 100 years prior to have him in a position to trade on a whole movement for $300? So we can say he been, was influenced partly and due to our captivity and all of these things. And so what do we got to do to protect these messengers? In my opinion, is to keep creating messengers. People start following, listening, and coming back. They can't do this to everyone. But I don't know what y'all fellas think about people getting discouraged to try out new walks of life, try a new health paradigm. You know what I'm saying? Say no to the doctors, or come out and speak about new information you got, or read these history books that you're reading, Dejan, or get into our Moorish history and really start to self-identify. And when they see the name changes and all of these things, you know, are these things kind of counterintelligence propaganda to deter us from expressing these things? Because this is something I've battled with for years. It's, hey, I'm coming into this knowledge, but how do I express it? Do I know all of these teachers that I'm learning from? I know what their fate was. Which way do you go? You do it the Tupac way, where you tap in through rap and you appeal to the younger culture, but you still have that Fred Hampton side of it, still got that Malcolm X side of it. Which way? Either way you go, they have painted a picture to us as the ending result is the same thing as selling dope. Dead or jail. You know what I'm saying? The same thing. They did it to Dr. Sabi, but none of these people said anything threatening. They came to help. So Laila Africa, all of these people that got said conspiracies behind their deaths, that's what I take away from it. I always wonder how that's going to affect our people in the long run.
Hey, Islam, Grand Measure Walt, let me speak for a second. We got to understand what's a messenger. How do we protect our messengers? We got to understand what the messengers are here for. They're here for a reason also. They have a duty the same way we do, the same way you do, the same way Dejan do. It's the messenger's charge and duty is the same as a prophet. And a prophet, see, I use a lot of not necessarily religious, but we study this, and this is the first law that men mostly recognize. So when we talk to our people, we gotta bring to them what their law is most of the time. You get what I'm saying? So we gotta meet them where they are, and their book and in their laws, which most of the time govern the land. A messenger, a prophet, is a messenger from God. Here to warn everybody for what's about to happen. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So they forewarn you of what's about to happen. The Baptist was a harbinger, which we call the forerunner, was a prophet for Jesus. And ours, Marcus Garvey, was there for Noble Drew Ali. So the messenger is only there for a reason, just like we are. And Fred Hampton came and gave his message, he's gone. He was to stir up and shake up the world, and that's what he did. But you got to understand, how have all of our so-called black organizations ended? We want to blame the police. We want to blame the FBI. Just like the Moors back in the day when we lost control of the land, it wasn't that we got beat by Spain or Great Britain or whoever that was stronger. We imploded from the inside. We were always tore down from the inside by our own people. But with the messenger being there, the Messiah, before America let their slaves go, what have they always done? If you see them running in the streets, what they do? They kill them before they let go.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather see you
Mm-hmm.
dead before I let you go. I
Mm-hmm.
kill you before I let you go. They even say that to their
Yeah.
wives.
Yeah. That's true.
Why wouldn't they do that to their property? You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So before I let you go, I kill one chick and he'll stop everybody from doing that. You saw the way they castrated 9. How many shots was it? 9, 19, something like that. That's terrible, man. That's a slaughter. So, as messengers, as people that we're here to wake our people up, you know what your charge is, and you know where it can lead. But God is the greatest planner of all. So you can't be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
You pray for that strength. You know what I mean? You already have that strength. You just got to stand up and do it. Be that light. Keep teaching. Keep teaching. You got this knowledge. Out of love, we want you to know. That's why we're so passionate about it. Keep doing what you're doing.
Appreciate that.
All right, and I want to touch on we're talking about the messengers. My thing is whenever the messengers like they get killed or something happen, my thing is where are the replacements? I mean, are we really schooling the community where there actually be replacements to replace the messengers that actually get killed in our community? I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be just one leader. That's why I feel as though it should be like a multitude of people with the same message or with the same amount of knowledge. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because in the church, when one pastor died,
they
they
always
pick
know.
up this.
Oh, you want?
Uh,
Yeah.
I
so
mean,
so
they
what
knew how.
they do,
I mean, they knew how to pick. Hold on, they knew how to pick out Dr. King. They knew how to pick.
it's one thought. You know what I'm saying? So when Brother Malcolm died, the spirit of justice and truth still goes on. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the man, it's the message, it's the spirit of the struggle that keeps us going. See, Fred Hampton had the same knowledge as Kwame Ture. He had the same knowledge as
Mm-hmm.
Huey P. Newton. They all was they didn't have different ideologies.
Yeah,
We need to feed our people, so we work to it. If Fred dropped the ball, then the other people was there to, we know we got to do this. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
again, back to this book. When Jesus spoke, he spoke in the third person. He said, "These are not my words or my works, but my Father's." So what Jesus spoke was spirit. So when they say Jesus said, "I'll return," in Revelations, man ain't returning. It's the spirit of God. It's the message that was put before that's going to live
Yeah.
forever, and that man fade away, but not that spirit of your fight. What's God in that fight? The spirit of God is God in that fight that Fred Hampton had, that Elijah up, that Farrakhan had, that you have, Dejan, that you have walked the spirit of Dr. Savvy. You feel me? So
Mm-hmm.
that's how we keep going on. See, we have a prayer in Moorish America saying, Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day. When we say that means when we in our darkest times, when there's knowledge, but he's still guiding us to the right where we're supposed to be. That ain't another man. That's the spirit of Allah guiding us where we need to be. My protector, God by night and by day. Even when I got the light, he still guided me the right way. So with that spirit of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice in Fred Hampton, that was in Malcolm X, that was in Dr. Martin Luther King, is the spirit of God that's leading their hearts the same way that's leading each one of us. So we got to keep that torch burning, brothers. Islam.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree with that all the way. And I'm glad you said that. It's the message, not the messenger, because I think that's something that helps a lot of people within this conscious community that can come out of these toxic ideologies is that you start to learn like we said a few weeks ago, you following information, you following knowledge, and we get so caught up in the black community for whatever reason on this individualistic mentality where we want to follow a person. We have to have a said leader, and we can't extrapolate the information. And so what happens is when that leader that was just presenting you information that was beneficial to you, when he does something outside of maybe your belief system or what you feel is moral, now all of the information that went along with this person gets discredited and is actually gets used as a tactic from the oppressor, right, to demean or undermine the works that these people have done, so is you could talk about Dr. York and all of the allegations or the African Bambata. I never went and looked into these cases because I was just there for the message. So if these people did do what you said they did, that's not going to deter the knowledge that I was able to fact check and present to me. And a lot of people in our community need to understand that we have to start following information, because what happens is if we find a good speaker, we don't check that information. We don't go back and study ourselves because this speaker sounds so good. He's so popular. So many people are in agreement with what he's saying, and we're not checking the information. So you leave yourself open for a lot of misinformation. And then we leave it open for those that want to counter what we're doing. We leave that open for them to say, hey, look at this guy's criminal history. Look what happened in his family argument. Look how he treats his wife, his baby mama. And he got 4 kids out of wedlock. Now, all of this knowledge about health doesn't hit as hard when you hear that about war. Or this stuff about the Moorish American sciences doesn't hit as hard when you hear it about the doctor, right? Or Dejan. Dejan pulled that right out of a book and didn't give credit. Now we don't want to go back and listen to nothing the great stuff that these brothers have brought forth. And so that is, I speak from experience. That's something when I was coming out of my old ideologies, I battled with. It was just like, okay, now hold on. He talked about this. Now they're saying he did this, and I had to just stop playing into all those things, because we need to start locking in on following messages. Because what that leaves you to do is, all right, let me grab my notepad, let me write down what doctor was saying tonight, and let me go check. Now, guess what? Since he did his studying right and all of his things was correct, now I've affirmed it. Now our connection is even stronger. Now whenever they say about him, I know the brother was in the right spot. So these things that we end up doing, as a effect, or as a uh, how would you say it, as a reaction to the oppression we've been in, when we act in such a way to survive out of survival mechanisms, it doesn't denounce the knowledge that we bring. And so we got to get out of that individualistic mentality, man, and start, like you said, following the message. The message of, like, man is always going to fail you. He's always going to do something you don't like. It's going to be a topic. You can agree with me on 100 things, and that one topic you don't agree with, you might not never listen to me again. And we got to stop doing that, because these people let you down, and they never should have been in a place in your heart to let you down as a person. It should have been the information. So I don't know. I'm glad that I don't get let down anymore. I'm not getting let down, because I can listen to a brother talk all day and I don't have to worry about that letdown. Man, he let me down. I don't care about what you got going on. You're bringing valid information to the community.
That's profound, Walt, because we as a nation of people, we're so used to building man up so high that we forget we don't leave him room to fail. See, that's us depending on man,
That's a
and
fact.
we forget that man is our carnal. So carnal things are subject to change day after day after day. So the God that a carnal person serves today will be different tomorrow, because it's subject to change. But truth don't change. When you're supposed to be that living definition, that walking sacrifice, that person that displays the truth that they speak. You know what I'm saying? And that's when you elevate it to that point of the perfected man. Because when people listen to other people and then run off and repeat what they heard without researching it, you become you are what many would call a parrot on a cracker. You know what I'm saying? You run around talking with somebody else. No, but who are you? Do you even know who you are? You sound like such because what we are told. Don't you know man knows not from being told? Man being told, so you got to get it. But you know what our problem is? What they say a long time ago, place to hide money from a Negro
is in the book.
In the book, because a nigga ain't read. I had all them birth certificates and rent money in there. We wasn't going there to steal that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Mama, where birth certificate? Go look at that big Bible in there and under the table. Where all this money come from? Shit, y'all ain't going in there nowhere. Y'all, none of y'all read. You don't even know who you are, but grandma got all your lineage in the back of the Bible. So, our kryptonite is a book, man. Oh man. So always dig, man. And we're naturally scientists. So when you hear something, man, you're supposed to go dig, man. That's what we are, Moorish American scientists. That's why we're all doctors, believe it or not. We study everything and we dissect it to the essence of its form from where it began to. And that's what you all mindset. See, we didn't come from slaves. We came from scientists. We came from astrologers. We came from philosophers. And if all those are right there in our reach, all of that is within every last one of us. So keep philosophically speaking to everybody and being scientists and breaking down what you, because none of y'all bring that to the table unless y'all done researched it. I ain't heard y'all repeat nothing. Nobody else say it, man. Then, like you said, you heard Mariah you got these stuff, but you go research it. When I get water, I know you ain't got a PhD, because that's what you ain't no disrespect, but that's what you're supposed to do as a scientist, man. So it is what it is. If you got a problem with it, that means you janky. You know what I'm saying? Sure. Hey, you that loud water, big dog. I appreciate that. Dejan,
while we at
keep
it,
studying,
make sure
man,
y'all get the loud water.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Loud water. I got so I don't even have my bottle in it with me. But
real quick, we do have a comment. One of our watchers on YouTube has this comment, and I'm sure you guys can see. But he did mention that Alexandria of Egypt was colonized by Indian Europeans. So, any of you have any feedback on that for that viewer?
Alexandria is a Greek name, so we all know about that. Alexandria of Egypt. Alexandria is a Greek name. Egypt was colonized not by Indian Europeans, but it was colonized by Greeks and Romans. That's where you name Hebrew from. That's a Greek name. Indian, the name Indian wasn't even around because Indian is a slave title, just like Black, Negro, and Colored that was given to indigenous people. So when they call them Indians and Puerto Ricans, their real name was Tainos. They wasn't Indians, they were Tainos and they were indigenous. So even with the natives, they became Native Americans because when they did the Indian land removal and put them on the new spot, they were supposed to give them territory. They give them territories and they stayed there and they had their sovereignty. But they said, we'll give y'all this land, but if you come over here, we'll give y'all this house and this other land. That's yours. You ain't got to worry about them. And they said, okay, we'll take that. But before you get this land, you got to become a citizen. So you will be a Native American. And they said, take that. You'll be privileged to what we got. And when they get that a week later, 2 weeks later, they come in and say, ain't got to pay these taxes. What you mean taxes? $2,000 in taxes. Your house ain't worth nothing but $1,000. So now you done lost your house. You done gave up your tribal citizenship to become an American citizen. You homeless and you paying taxes on nothing. So they tricked them. So about the Egyptian being colonized, it was colonized by the Greeks and the Romans because it wasn't Europeans at that time. Europe is less than 10,000 years old, so Europeans are less than that. So never let nobody tell you that's less than 10,000 years old tell you who you are or what you came from. So scratch that.
And also,
Yeah.
I want to add to that too, because we talk about the Greeks colonizing Egypt, but the Greeks actually were taught by Egyptians too. The
Oh
Greeks were
yeah.
taught by Comedics too. They went in the mystery schools of Kemet and learned. They learned
So yeah,
philosophy. They learned
you was
mathematics.
right.
They learned
It
all of
wasn't
that
Egyptians.
through
It was
the
Kemetans. It was Kemetans. So you were right
Kemet.
about that. The Egyptians didn't
Exactly.
come along to the creek. So you were right. It started with the ancient Kemet. So right on, bro.
Yeah,
Even in medicine.
and also, Alexander had conquered it. That's where Alexander's name after Alexander the Greek. A lot of them philosophers like George G.M.J. saying this book Stolen Legacy. You don't even hear Plato, Aristotle, or Socrates' earlier life. You hear stories about them later on, and they had burned down the Alexandrian library in Kemet. They burned it down. So for them
Yeah,
to say they colonized and white people made Egypt better. Egyptians or Kemites, they taught Greeks. They taught Greeks philosophy and mathematics and science and all of that. So if it wasn't for them, they wouldn't even have civilization to begin with.
yeah, and it all comes
Where
down
do
to
you
what we
think
talk about
Nostradamus?
autonomy. Go ahead. Yeah, I was just gonna say this boils down to like this kind of touches on what I'm talking about as far as autonomy and self identity because a lot of these things are names pressed upon us. Someone shows up to your door and they define who you are based off of their culture, and then history tells it, and they'll have you calling yourselves Egyptian, even though that group of people didn't call themselves that. You see what I'm saying? It's just like the Indians and all of that. And so you absolutely right when you say Egyptians or uh, Cometians uh, were teaching the Greeks because you look at even Hippocrates, right? The father of medicine is what a certain group of people call him. And you gotta. This is what because my
Wait,
son asked me about the
oh, I'm
Christopher.
sorry. He they called him the father of Western medicine
Oh yeah, I was getting to that point.
because he
Yeah, yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
the
yeah.
Quote
father of the
father
East.
man.
Yeah. I was getting to that point.
My
You're
bad,
right.
my bad, my
They called him
bad,
a certain. That's why I said a certain
my
group
bad,
of people call him the father of medicine.
Mhm.
They usually don't say Western medicine because they feel like they run the show. So from their perspective, he's the father of medicine. They do the Hippocratic oath, but if you study him, he'll tell you that he went down in Egypt or Kemet and learned from Imhotep. He learned everything that he knew from you know somebody from Kemet. We get lost in while we're reconstructing history. We have to look at and take in account point of views. The victor got the right of a lot of these things, and so from a certain perspective, like they'll say the Mayans. Well, the people we know as the Mayans never called themselves the Mayans. They didn't know what that was. They called themselves the sheep people. And so when we go through history, we're having to look up and see the origins of these people based off of the names Mayans, right? Or we'll say Indians, which is totally messed up because when we hear Indian, we have a certain picture, a certain perspective that's been programmed into our subconscious. But really, when you look up, there's a court case in the Black Law Dictionary. Indian just describes the people that inhabited this land before Europeans got here. And that was like Frazier and Spokane had that damn court case. But the court case defines what these to touch on what Brother Bay always said, you got to know the law. And so it defines these words when we're using them, and that actually puts us in certain types of statuses, learning your status. So who was here before Europeans arrived. It was a mixture of uh, Moorish people from Morocco was here. There's a whole. We got evidence that people were coming back and forth from Africa before they got here. So all of these names and misnomers um, that we go by, we're having to reconstruct history through. We kind of get lost in translation, but just like they say the Christopher Columbus thing, discovering America. Well, if you're sitting in Europe and you never knew about any of those other things, when he went over there, he came back and told you it was a new land. Then to you and to your people, this man discovered America. You get what I'm saying? Like to your people, they may have discovered America, but you know, to all of us, to in the whole grand scheme of things, as far as history, um, what are we going by? Where's the literature? That proves these things. So that's a good comment he made. But when I see people using Egypt and things like that, I know you're doing it from a different perspective anyway. But yeah, man, that's my measure.
I think our people forgot about our people forgot about the names Mizraim. Our people forgot about Pangea. So the reason why the Egyptians have that fair skin is because just like it's called whitewashing. They keep having sex with that same family, they're gonna eventually become whited out, your genes. But the first time the person get back to their regular people, that big nose come, the big ears and them big lips come right back out. That's why they look at them, man, your daddy ain't, you know what I'm saying? But I also saw that it says that the rulers were white, and so we just told you about that. The rulers, but white people made Egypt civilized. That's definitely wrong. Civilization came from the Moors. See, a lot of facts and a lot of truth has been misconstrued behind where the Europeans came from and when the day started, when their rules started. To back on Christopher Columbus, see, like you're saying, they tell us that he founded America. He never made it. He made it to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Made it to the Bahamas.
Also about Christopher Columbus, and they also don't tell you that he brought Spaniards over to the Caribbean and wiped out 85% of the Taino population, and also was cut.
They also failed to tell you. They forgot to tell you how if the Moors ruled it, how are they able to travel? Because we had just lost the war. We had just lost the last territory. So that's how Spain was able to sail with Christopher Columbus like that. See, our people fail to a lot of Europeans are misinformed also. And it's not their fault because the trailer parks learned the same school system we did. You know what I'm saying? So we also got to understand Europeans were human cargo also. If the Europeans civilized Egypt, they were still in the cave. So they were still walking on all fours. They couldn't be civilized. They couldn't civilize anything. They had to be civilized first. When the Moors marched them across the hot desert sands, butt naked, all they had was a loincloth across they cover up their genitals because we didn't want to see that. You know what I'm saying? It was disrespectful to us. The only thing we got was that little loincloth. That's that little cloth that the Masons wear across their waist. That's called a loin. So again, I just told you that the Europeans, that's what we gave them when they walked across the hot desert sands to the mountains where we left them at because they were cutting up. People that was cutting up in the war, they civilized, they couldn't civilize us. We was already civilized. You get what I'm saying? But after we had to go back and teach them how to stand up and walk, they got crazy again and wanted to kill. Because we was already manipulating fire when they was drinking and eating out of monkey skulls and out of each other. You know what I'm saying? So again, stop letting people who haven't been in existence in less than 10,000 years tell you where you came from and who you were. We was in Africa. The Europeans that travel all the way across that water, they're gonna have to take on water and Revelations is fulfilled. So
that's just great.
That is,
yeah, that's crazy because I lost my train of thought, man.
My bad, but tell them to ask, hey Google, how old is Europe? They'll tell you less than 10,000 years, less than 10,000 years old. So if Europe's that young, don't Europe come from Europe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also when you say civilized, they civilized them. Civilized to who? Under whose criteria of civilization? So if you saying, Europeans civilized Egypt, are you saying they indoctrinated? They taught them your ways and you're considering that civilized? Or are you talking about how we were one with nature? We understood how we had differences amongst our community, but we stood one with nature. You look at the movie Wakanda. They all didn't get lost. They had those small tribes, right? They all were a little different. They didn't all get along, but it was certain things that they had a pact on, which nature is one of those things. And so we were living for eons. We were eating off of the earth for eons. We were, like you said, we were scientists. We already knew we were traveling around, circumnavigating the globe before Europeans were able to document it on what they call civilized. We were using papyrus to put on stone. We have the oldest. When you carbon date and radioactive date this stuff, we have the oldest artifacts. You can go down here in Mexico and see that the Olmec heads and the relation between Africa and what we're calling North America today. And so that's not even a what they're talking about. You're too young. Your history don't go back that far. It's just that you won a war, a more recent war. And so now you're telling history out of a point of view of people that have won a war and did it in a manipulative way.
And my thing is, okay,
bro,
if y'all had so much power, how come Europeans had to divide Africa in the 1884, 1885 Berlin Conference? If you had so much power as Europeans, I mean, you came over and stole a lot of resources. And like the brother was saying, the Moors taught them sanitation. The Moors taught them how to bathe. The Moors taught the Europeans how to be civilized. For you, the Europeans brought civilization to Kemet or brought civilization to black people, that is erroneous.
You're right.
Because y'all did not bring civilization to nobody. I mean, they had to steal to get wealth. They had to steal and they had to murder and rob people to get the wealth that they got. So that notion that they brought civilization to African people, that is completely erroneous. And furthermore, if you go back to Ethiopia, they got the oldest human fossils in Ethiopia. That's facts. That's anthropologically, scientifically proven. So, like the brother said, the Europeans are too young to even make that assertion or assessment.
See, I'm glad you said that, brother, because do y'all remember hearing about the Golden Ages?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's Mansa Musa them. That's when Mansa Musa broke the Egyptian money system with gold. He spread it so much that it didn't even have a value. People using it as doorstops.
Yeah.
But the time, man, flourishing. We already had apartments in the side of mountains. Those Catholic cathedrals, those were Moorish castles. We lived in them. Those was our cribs. You know what I'm saying? So how dare they say that? Remember, while we was they were still eating out of skulls. So this brother, subjective reality say we taught math. I don't know if that's a European or more, but we taught
I think
math
it's
and philosophy. Math and let me tell you, man, proud thing that it's stolen knowledge. I don't people are not familiar with the story about Hiram Abiff and what Masons are and who they are and what they the world. See, the knowledge that y'all claim is y'all's, it was stolen from the African king, the African godman. See, we were born as gods. God created us as gods. We were gods. And the European, actually, let me tell you how the European made. When Allah sent everybody to the four corners of the earth, he sent them to Antarctica and to the cold area. So therefore, when we started out with these big nostrils that when we were in Africa, we needed it to cool our brains down. Over there in Antarctica, the nostrils shrunk so the cold and wouldn't freeze their brain and die. They would hit them to the mountain, to the Caucasus, and they had to stay there and they couldn't find food. They didn't have the herbs of the earth to eat anymore, so they didn't have the berries and the vegetables that they had to eat to protect their body. So they looked at each other, they ate each other. Cannibalism was invented. So then you go to the Bible and you hear my body taking and eat it. This is my blood taking and drinking. That's cannibalism. Stop it.
Yeah.
So when all these things that they talk about that they did, they're stolen knowledge. Hiram Abiff was an African who was hit in the head and killed by three Rufus brothers. Jubilee, Jubilam. I'm telling you the Masonic history. What they did was took the black man, hit him across the head, took him out of Africa, and buried him in the West in the shallow grave. So that's why they call us the dead. That's in the Bible, the dead. So they think they got the master grip. The Europeans and the European Masons call themselves taking the master grip and raising Hiram with their knowledge. But they're not letting us have our own knowledge, then our knowledge to raise their nation of people. That's why you talking about how you have to how blacks are performing today, because we're lost. We're European ways. All that war fighting and violence that's going on today, that's not our culture. That's what y'all do. When y'all came across them stores, we were standing there saying peace, peace and love. Y'all put in our face and stole our stuff. Europeans, Christianity, religion was given to the Europeans for their earthly salvation for the things that they've been done. We're divine people that was here already. Y'all people didn't know that. Y'all didn't know what to do. Y'all didn't know how to read, walk, do any of that stuff. That's why y'all was over there in Egypt stuff, because y'all ain't not doing nowhere else. Y'all had to take on water. Y'all became greedy. That's why y'all got the concept of the world is flat, because y'all too know as far y'all wanted to do more than what y'all supposed to do. So we had to stick y'all devils out and tell y'all that it was flat. We're gonna fall off the edge of the earth because y'all ain't know no better. So stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, and let me touch on him real quick with science,
Facts.
so he can get the Google. Let me touch on him real quick. So with science, because he made a statement saying that it's obvious who's the more advanced race is. See, one thing about it, we don't even have to work that hard to prove it, right? We're gonna go straight to science and hurt your feelings real quick, because he's talking about survival of the fittest. And so he's on that Darwinism, and I can tell he doesn't want to go in the science realm. So in the center of our universe, it's a galactic center, the Sagittarius A constellation, the black hole. That black hole, which is carbon-based material, which we are, is responsible for all of the stars and our local star orbiting. The only reason our sun is in existence is because this black hole has enough gravitational pull and energy to feed our sun. The sun, our local sun, is responsible for holding up all of the planets in its solar system. You cannot live on this earth, I don't care what religion, what belief system, all of us cease to exist without the relationship of the sun. You cannot talk to me about who's the most advanced. I don't have to go into no ancient civilizations. I have to wait until 100-degree day and tell you to go outside for 6 hours. If you do not have a symbiotic relationship with the sun, if it burns you, you cannot tell me you are more advanced than me. And so this isn't to bash white people. This is to bash somebody that's ignorant because you don't understand science. Because the sun is responsible for every single thing, everything that has life on this planet that is good needs the sun. It takes the sun to grow. The only thing that grows when the sun is away and the moon is out is parasites, spores, fungus. Where you get all of the mushrooms and all of that crap. So when we talk about advanced, when the sunlight hits me, I glow. Chemicals, cold calciferol is protected. My immune system is protected. So guess what? That's the highest form of advancement. It doesn't get any more advanced than that. I don't care if we build 1,000 pyramids. It's not more advanced than the sun. So when you want to talk about who's the most advanced, tell me who can take the photons that the sun emits and turn it into usable energy. The person or the species that can't do that could never say they're the most advanced on the planet, because if everything else ceased to exist, I can walk around butt naked with no food around and turn the photons from the sun into energy. That's science. So I don't know all of this great king and that great king, but I can tell you that without that black hole, the sun wouldn't be able to revolve around it, and all of the other stars. And then without this sun emitting its energy, its photons, then we wouldn't be able to exist. The vegetables wouldn't be able to exist. And so we can look from phenotypical evidence and see what the sun does to us. We know from nostrils, while nostrils are wide, you can Google right now the benefits of wide nostrils, because you have more hairs with a protection from viruses. You get more oxygen. That's why we got the pictures on the pyramids of the Ankh holding the Ankh up to our nose, because that's the way that you get oxygen to your brain. It stimulates your circle of Willis, which is your blood circulatory system in your brain. So I think he's talking about the inventions of white inventions. I'm telling you, we didn't need no inventions. We symbiotic with each other. But that's as fast as it gets. That's more advanced than planet. We get information from the sun when the sun gets up. Yeah. Go ahead.
You can't even be mad at the European, man, because that's their true nature. The vision, they want to bring the emotion at us because we're emotional people. They don't have that, man.
Yeah.
When we come up with our hand on our heart to let you know we come in peace, as European men, they tuck theirs. You know what I'm saying? Hiding what their intentions are. So
why is that?
You expect to call him a devil because he's European. He's a devil because of the way he's acting. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get us aroused using what they do because they study us, man. Well, let me tell you, man, fall from grace it was that when we civilized them Europeans, man, they looked at us and they said, "You're a God. You are our God. You've provided for us. You gave us everything." They praised us, and they say, "You're everything to us." And guess what? I'm just like you, brother. That was the number one mistake. That was the number one mistake because we ain't nothing like them. Nothing like them. When you're a God, you're a God. When you put yourself down below anything, why would you want to be anything less than a God? See, that's what our forefathers done. That was a fall from grace. That was when they talked about the cornerstone that was too rough, or the stone that his first choice was wrong because we. And the brother talked about ungratefulness of the right innovations is mind-boggling. Ungrateful. That's just bringing us together to know that who we are and the unity that we need to have to take this world back and replace it with the divine instructions that we were given by God. See, they were created. You understand? So they're gonna act like that. The only way you can conquer the masses is divide them, divide and conquer. We're so great to them. They studied us and know that we're emotional. And you can't use emotion dealing with these machines, man. Study thyself, know thyself. We're about, man, and know who we are, and know what they're about the same way they know about us. So keep growing, fellas. There's no threat no more. They're no threat. See, we're their biggest threat because they know. See, they know when we cut up, when we raise up, the first thing they do is put a gun in your get away with it, make a law for a shooting. But see, love won't come all that. They know the time running out. They time running out. We're gonna see that right now. There are women coming to us because they know them little pricks can't do nothing. They can't do them no more because they know that them brothers is where it's at. So it started with their women. Now we got to beat them off. Nah, we don't want nothing to do with y'all. Y'all leave them right there because remember we got in trouble.
That was
We
funny.
won't. They don't even want. They don't even
Yeah.
want them. So we leave that to them, man. But they will try to come with us because they want us to have their baby, so to have that blood. Another thing with that mixing with them, that makes that child have to make a choice with one or the other. And then they got to defend the other one. You know what I'm saying? So we shouldn't amalgamate. Sorry. The God said separate but equal nations. God spoke in nations, not races. Nations. So we're not in one nation. There's different cultures in that nation, but we're one nation of people. You get what I'm saying? So we got to look at each other as that. So whoever you are, subjective reality, I love you. You don't know no better. I expect you to
Oh
act
yeah,
like
he
that.
that's entertainment, man. But yeah,
Hey,
like I was saying, man, you gotta yeah, you gotta do some research on science to know that sun destroys DNA in certain people and it proliferates and turns and cooperates and communicates with another group of people. It communicates with us. And so when we talk about anything advanced, it doesn't get any more advanced than the reason why we exist, which is the existence of these celestial bodies. And so, whatever form and wording and parables that our ancestors used to speak in, that's something that I like to always tie together. Is what's happening out there that keeps this earth afloat, that sun afloat, what's going on in our galaxy? Because we find things biologically where clowns like this get on here and say things that don't have any scientific. Prowess or evidence. It's just funny, man. So, but nah, you dead on with that.
Yeah, at this point, I think it's good to have, some reactions in the comments, but, like Doc said, he just trying to stir up, the emotions and things of that nature. And I'm glad that, you know, we not led by that. We expect to run into these things is what we've ran into for most of us all our lives. It's all we have ever known, is how to adapt to those type of statements to get us riled up and things of that nature. So, the control is beyond amazing. But most definitely, we were talking earlier before the show, backstage, as I like to call it, in regards to the black church. And this will be one of the last things that we talk on before we end this tonight. But, you know, the black church, and we have well over 200 people, that was living in Tent City, or is currently living in Tent City, that has to evacuate prior to tomorrow. Um, and we want to know, what's everyone's thoughts on the Tent City thing and what churches. And I've heard people say it's not enough room, enough space. Um, I thought that the church that I grew up, going to was one of the biggest churches in Charlotte. It's not even on the top 25 list of Charlotte churches, and that's
Wow.
crazy. Um, yeah, that's crazy. They're not even on the top 25 list. But I just want to just get you all's feedback on that.
man, let me tell you, I went to First Assembly down here in Congo. the biggest church down here, man. And one day as I was younger, my mama gave me $10, and I watched. They had three services. They had 9 o'clock. Then I think they had 11 o'clock. Then they had a night. So to mention the children's service also. As I watch these pots go by, it's about 20 of them in each section, man. It's about $1 million in each one. About $100,000 each service. I put my $10 bill in there to get 5 out. Because I had something to do with that 5. Don't worry about what it was, but my mama cut up. You know what I'm saying?
You need 6. You need 6.
I needed my 5. If I could have got $1, you know what that dollar would have been for too. But anyway, I watched them bring the politics in and have all this, man. And I watched people, grandmother, Black churches, man, and they go to them to pay tithes every Sunday. And the first time they light bill, the light cut off, they say, I need help with this. You know what they tell them? Well, come here, we need to give you some credit counseling to see where your bill's going. You know what I'm saying? And that ain't what we want to hear, man. The churches got PPP loans to keep them going, but they're not being used. Their bills not being used no more. And the churches are safe havens. There's, you know, if you're a runaway, if you're a fugitive or something, you know, they kept telling the Mexicans to go to the church because they can't go in the church and go in there and take nobody out, piece of nothing. So they should be opening their doors right there to do that in the church. You know what I mean? If it's so much that you have to keep your eye open. Now they even have them take shots and suggest it to their congregations. I was reading today, man. Got to use their phone. And Jeremiah 23. In Jeremiah 23, it said, let me read it for you right quick. I'll get you word for word. Not trying to go and keep it going late or whatnot. But again, you gotta. In Jeremiah 23, he said, on verse 1, the first name, woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture. He didn't say me, you, or them people over there, specific name, group of people that scatter in the flock. And that's to the pastor. You got some that's doing that, but you got some that's talking the right word. But you got a lot of them that's scattering everybody for whatever reason, hidden agendas. And they call the shepherds, and we're the sheep. You got to understand who's leading that shepherd to these blind sheep and where they're going. So you can't look for the church to save you. Allah, who people call God, already in grace. Everything you need to save yourself. So again, they're struggling with a spirit that put them in a situation. Not saying that they can't be helped, they can't be saved, but it was here it's here to save spirits, I guess you say. Not physical, but the spiritual. That's my problem with it, man. So don't with it.
Well, my issue is just this. Not just the tent city, because there's just no reason to me why you wouldn't immediately open up doors. You can't have, not having church or whatever. The message that you preach, the reason why people come there is because of the feeling, these said commandments, these rules that you have. And the way you're treating the homeless is not indicative to what most people grow up believing the church to be. Secondly, with this vaccine crap, we've been suffering from health disparities longer than I've been alive. And I've never seen anyone from the National Institute of Health coming to churches asking them to push a certain agenda. And coming from a biological mindset, this vaccine isn't right. I might do a whole nother show just talking about that. It's not right. And so it scares me when a group of people that bring in, uh, like Dejan was telling me earlier, hundreds of billions world countrywide. It's 100 billion industry, hundreds of billions. You're not bringing knowledge to our communities of biology, but you would come and tell us just to take something. When they're experts, when the experts are the oppressors saying, weigh your options. How do you go to a group of people that have no knowledge of biology and say, weigh your options, make the best decision? How do you do that? How do you send somebody that knows nothing about cars to three mechanics and say, choose the best one? You're going to have to go off of hearsay. And so the lack of knowledge on these topics for you to come to any congregation and say, take this vaccine. Tell them why. Break down why it benefits them to take the vaccine. All of these so-called conspiracy theories, like a lot of these people like to call us, or for sure me with this health thing. If it's conspiracy, then take these $18 million you get a year and hire you someone who can sit on a panel and show us how it's conspiracy. Show us why. Show us the human body. You have time. We're all at home. We can't move like we used to. Throw some lessons together. Throw some science lessons together. If you want to start encouraging our people, because we've been suffering from heart disease, blood pressure, they killing us with the dialysis and all of that crap now. So why aren't you talking about all of the topics? Because COVID isn't our big issue. If all of a sudden you want to use the influence of the black church to make us healthy, why now? We suffering from a whole list of things outside of COVID. So what that's suspect to me. And so you want people to sign these pledges that say we're going to correct misinformation. How do you correct misinformation? How do you correct me on biology if you don't know biology? So this goes back also to stop following messengers, the leaders, and follow the information. Because whenever people are telling you things and they want you to just trust them, they want you to just believe them, they want to be charismatic so you could, look at how they look and how they present themselves. They're trying to distract you from their lack of information. I want you to fact check everything I say so that you know. Because one thing I know about the body is that knowing for yourself intensifies the emotion, intensifies the experience, even in healing. You knowing, like I bring people in, I educate you. So because you knowing for yourself is part of the healing process. So these people want to just advise us on things when you're not in the position to advise, except for that rare position of you being the only institution that has survived all of these things that has happened in the black community. You've been around since the 1700s and you survived everything. Black church has survived everything while every other institution or organization has been killed off, but you survived. I can't believe that's black. The
And in my
face is on it. But go ahead.
and my thing about the church is, it seems as though they say that they love God and they love the Bible and all that, but they only read certain passages in the Bible that's convenient for them. They never read the Bible. They claim to love Jesus, but half of the things they teach in the church, Jesus actually went against. I mean, for example, Jesus had went to the poor, but you don't see these preachers going to the poor like that. They trying to fleece the poor out of their money and then try to preach about them if they don't give them tithes and offerings, which tithes in the Bible was never money. But that's a whole nother topic. So why are you
Yeah,
teaching?
yeah, because they don't want to go in that garden.
I know, right? That's why I say tithes and offerings in the church. That tithes was actually grains, crops, and cattle and so forth. It was never money. So
First
any
home.
preacher telling you to give money, I mean, they false. And the tithes only went to the Levites anyway. The tithes only went to the Levites in the Bible. So they're not even really teaching the Bible from a biblical perspective. They're teaching it from a capitalistic perspective. And they basically want you to give your money to the preacher so the preacher can get rich, or the preacher can have a Benz or Rolls Royce.
Yeah. Nah, you're absolutely right on that one, man. That is, it's about influence, man. It really is. It is.
Um, so I mean, one of the church.
But yeah, to elaborate on just kind of camelback off of what he was saying, it's about influence, man. It is. It's about that influence, and they're gonna go. They go to the rappers, to the entertainers, to the ball players, to the black church leaders of black churches are our biggest influencers. Not most knowledgeable. They're not necessarily the most knowledgeable. When we look at like what Malcolm X said about, why is it that in our community these are the people that are looked at as the leaders? Because you play ball, because you rap, or because you're famous. Fame doesn't equate to having the knowledge to present uh, the problems in a fashion to get them resolved. And so that's something that uh, it is an issue, man. It is a big issue. And so, like you said, that influence, these ties, and how you're preaching it, to me, they're doing the same thing that this guy got on in our comments and did. They're ploying to your emotions. They know that we are the biggest signal transductors. We harbor the most energy. We have the best absorption factors of energy. We absorb energy the best. So we can't help but be the most emotional. And through our culture and through teachings, we were taught how to control those emotions. But you're talking about electrical signals when you're talking about emotions, and we receive them the most. So I'm not, we can't argue with people that only have the capability of receiving the full energy and say we're overly emotional, But this is what the church, for the most part, these mega churches are playing on your emotions. They want you to feel good. In the music, I try to tell people the music is everything. These vibrations, these are ways into your subconscious. These are electrical currents. These are things that make you move. All of us know that. We can have a bad night, and all we keep saying, let's just get to the club because we know when we get there, it's going to turn. So the music is going to turn you up. Sometimes we listen to this rap music and we know it's trash, but we can't. We still bop to it, still move, even if it might be degrading or say to be things that we wouldn't say on this panel, but we still listen to it because this music it holds vibrational weight and it actually influences the cells. So they get you in there. You have no other hope. You have nowhere else to go. And then you have this. They don't teach you like Dr. Bay is doing in a parable, allegoric way, so that you know these things are physical and that there were meaning behind these parables. You're taking these things literally, and it's not helping us as a community because we get very emotional and we feel empowered leaving there, but we're actually 10% more broke. Like we lost more money, but we come out feeling empowered. And it's the same thing that these people do with food. They do it in the medical system. They know that the cause of all disease is emotional, physical, and chemical stress. And so they will give you a chemical that is stressful to your body, but they'll make it emotionally good. So you'll eat sugar that'll destroy your cells, but at the same time, it'll send a signal to your brain of satisfaction. And so it's this deception that we are still falling under, man. And for this time, for the whole 2020, what it showed me was that out of all institutions, when people were sick, the one people that shouldn't have been getting sick are the people that say they have the access to the ultimate healer. You know, the one doors that shouldn't have been closed are the people that should be safeguarded because of your belief. And so this showed me that beliefs aren't enough. We have to know. We have to tap back into our sciences. We have to know that these other races, these other nations, while they do go to church, while they do praise, that doesn't take away from the fact that they learn science, that they learn engineering, that they actually learn and know that they physically have to do things to manifest things. And so it's a disconnect, man. It is a real disconnect in that. And I think 2020 showed like, all right, it's time to put your money where your mouth is, because we wouldn't allow that in the hood amongst each other. You tell me, oh, this is it, you need to keep coming here, you need to keep coming here because XYZ. And then when the time for you to show, I can't do that. I can't charge somebody and say, listen, you're going to live a healthier lifestyle, you're going to feel better. And then a year go by, and I say, well, there's nothing I can do for you. I tried everything I could. We prayed about it, we meditated. You want action, people want results. And so, no, man, it's just, I lost a whole lot of respect. And
Let me.
go ahead.
I definitely on all this, man. Let me get one thing straight. We can't bash everybody in the church because, as our prophet told us, Noble Drew Ali said that there's still some good brothers in the church with that building and in the Masonic lodges. My fiance's father is a bishop, and he runs a whole lot of churches in the state of North Carolina. But let me tell you about my father-in-law. He don't talk like the normal pastors in the church. He speaks about upliftment and doing what you're charged to do in the community. He still might say some things about Jesus because that's his way of teaching to the people that he do. But there's nothing wrong with the things that he's teaching when it's coming to that. So all our problem is not within the church, it's the messages that's being taught most of the time in the church. So we can't bash all the pastors or the bishops with it. Again, the church was given to the Europeans for their earthly salvation. But where did the church come from? Because Jesus didn't have a church. He had believers, and they wasn't called Christians either. You get what I'm saying? So man's idea used, we got to understand also, what was Christianity, how was Christianity given to our people? And what was it given to us for? It was given to us to keep the slaves intact so they wouldn't cut up and to scare them with heaven and hell and obeying our master and so forth. But the slaves came with the idea before, because in the yard they always saying, I want that old time religion. So they had a religion for Christianity, and you got to ask, what was it? So they had a way of life in their culture, and it was peaceful to them. So they had to serve another God who was given to them when they came here. So again, we got people that are acting out of culture and out of who they're supposed to be. And the church was never meant for a place to, as a sanctuary. It was there to teach, program. And don't forget, Satan was the god of music. Music plays at a certain megahertz, and our body is energy, and we deal vibration and waves. So it's the most manipulative way to get to somebody to do right or wrong. It's just in the person that's using it in the way.
That's
So
a
good
fact.
message, brother.
That's a fact. It's nothing that we do, whether we're in the grocery store, you hear music. You in a restaurant, you hear music. You in the mall, you hear music. When you waiting to pay your
And the
phone
ice cream
bill,
man,
you hear music.
Yeah.
You hear it on everything. When you waiting on the phone line to pay your bill, you hear music. You know what I'm saying? Um, I mean, you can't really think of anything that you do, and it's funny that you say that because I've noticed me personally over the past probably about 2 3 years. When I ride in the car, 9 times out of 10 I have no music on. 9 times out of 10 I have no music on, and it just for me, for once, it's relaxing. You know, I don't know why that is, but it's just funny that y'all both spoke on that because it's very true. A lot of what we do on a daily basis in the background playing is some music in some way, shape, or form, and it just motivates us. Um, and so, yeah, that's good stuff right there. But I want to, respect everybody's time. Tonight was amazing. I cannot wait to pick up next week, a little bit further on, the church and things of that nature. But it's a couple other things I'd like to see us get into as well. And so if you're listening now, make sure that you tune in next week. Tune in next week. It's going to be a really, really Great show next week. As we dive in, we had a wonderful audience tonight that was tuned in with us. So much love to you all. Whether it's similarities or differences, this is the purpose of Hue Talk Tales. And so to everyone, as I always say, peace, love, and good night. And we'll see you next week.